by the look on her face. Oh, there we go. So we're going to be posting this to the YouTube channel, just like we do for all of these meetings. If you do not wish to have your image recorded, please feel free to turn off your camera. However, for the speaker standpoint, it is so much better to be able to talk to a group of live faces that smile and giggle and chuckle and do the head bobs when they see things, or look puzzled when things aren't going well. All of that helps our speakers so very much. So if you are up for having your image recorded, please leave your cameras on. I guarantee Lori will appreciate it that much more. I'd also like to thank those folks that are organizing all of this week. Kathy Cunningham, Mark Mandel, Rakea Bacon, Lori Haynes. Give it up for all of our organizers this week. Thank you all very, very much. Wonderful, wonderful job this week. And it is my honor now to welcome to our virtual lectern, the hostess with the mostest for Fall Education Week, our very own Division E Director, Kathy Cunningham. Take it away, my friend.
Hello, 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 everyone. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. It's a perfect evening to be inside and enjoying the company of other fellow Toastmasters and learning a lot more about Zoom tonight. Hopefully you came to our last Zoom meeting, and I'm very excited to get started with this one tonight. I do want to share a little bit about the Fall Education Week and the coming up classes as well. I want to first and foremost say that not only are you guys getting club officer training credit, but everybody's names who have attended our classes are going to go in to the door prize drawings on Saturday. Yeah. So it pays to come to these classes. This upcoming class tomorrow night will be lightning in a bottle. Find electric moments in your speech. You don't want to miss it. Come and join us for that. It will be well worth your time. And then Saturday, we have a full slate of learning, laughs, and lots of fun. And did I say door prizes? There's going to be a few door prizes. So I'm excited. We are going to make sure that it is also well worth your time to come to that. Please join us whenever you can. We do appreciate the audience, your presence, your laughter, your head nods, but we also understand if you can't make it, that's why we're recording these sessions so that we can enjoy learning all about this at our leisure as well. If you maybe want to just go back and say, I forgot what they said about this, you can, because we've recorded it. Tonight is Lori Haynes. Lori has been the District 62 Pathways Manager since 2017. She was also the district's logistics manager for the last 2 years. When she first assumed that role, she didn't have much to do. She helped coordinate rooms for district meetings, ordered lunch for trainings and contests, and hauled the district banner around in her car to different events. Somehow that doesn't sound like that was her idea of fun. But then, well, you know what came along. Starts with a C, and boy, did things change. She helped clubs start meetings online, the district present officer training online, and club held contests online, all on Zoom. Tonight, she's going to share some of that Zoom experience with you. So please welcome Lori Haynes.
Thank you, Kathy and Scott and District 11 for inviting me for this webinar tonight. First, we're going to start out with a poll. Why? Because they're fun, right? Aren't they fun? All right, let's launch this poll here. It's a have you ever question. Have you ever been a co-host in a Zoom meeting before? We've got some votes coming in. We've got, well, let's see, is it going to be a tie? Yes, no? Does anybody want to know what a co-host is? If so, this would be the right place tonight because that's what we're going to talk about. Yes. All right. Are you ready to see the results? I'm going to end the poll because everyone has answered it. Share the results. Yes, 8 out of you have been a co-host before. What are you doing here? You could teach the class. 3 of you, no, not yet. And no one said, what's a co-host? That's good. One of the things you can do as a co-host is launch polls. Tonight, I want to give you a hands-on chance, especially since we're a smaller group, to do some of these things. Yes, we're going to create a little chaos tonight. But if you get too rowdy, Lori's going to put the hammer down. As you may know, or probably know, the host is the one that has all power. But when you're a co-host, you have lots of superpowers. You can do nearly everything that the host can do. There's a couple of things you can't do. One of them is you can't make anybody else a co-host. Only the host can. And do you know how many co-hosts you can have in a meeting? Put in the chat or shout out. How many co-hosts do you think we can have in a meeting?
5,
Keep going up.
10.
Keep going. Let's just
Price is
say,
right. 15, 20, 25, 30.
it sounds like an auction. Keep going up.
An equal amount to the amount of people that are in the meeting.
No,
Huh?
50. You can have 50 co-hosts. So I could make all of you co-hosts up to 50. Now, I wish Zoom had a way to quickly make them co-hosts and quickly make a bunch not co-hosts. It's a one-by-one type of thing, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. So that's why we're going to have some nice hands-on experience, because I'm going to make you guys co-hosts, and you guys are going to create some chaos. Hopefully not too much chaos. But first, I want to share my screen and kind of show you around a little bit before I let you loose and be able to play with some things. Okay, Mark, if you can't handle the power, we'll just leave you. You know, we need at least one regular participant to play with, right? Right. Being a co-host means that you can do some fun things in there, but it means you can also help keep order in the meeting. Who's heard of Zoom bombers? Anybody ever heard of Zoom bombers? Right? There are those people that apparently have nothing better to do than to go find meetings and create serious chaos. And not because they're practicing anything. So one of the things I want to make you aware of are some things that you can do to help make sure your meetings are secure or to recover them if something goes funny. And even if you don't have Zoom bombers, the larger the group of people you have, you may want to change some of the control settings that you have in your meeting just to help keep order. Because as we know, as Toastmasters, we love to talk. Sometimes we need to make sure only the speaker is talking, right? And only certain things are happening just so our meetings flow smoothly. One of the things that you'll see on the bottom menu when I make you a co-host is the security shield. So let's take a look at that security shield, and you're going to see yourselves as well. At the bottom, you'll see a security shield. You guys seeing that at the bottom here? Now, I'm not into superheroes, so I don't know if it looks like anybody's shield or not. When I click it, I have some options. I have lots of options. Both a host and a co-host will see this. The co-host can do nearly everything a host can do. I can choose to lock the meeting. That means nobody else could come in. They won't even hit the waiting room. And maybe that is, you realize everyone's here, lock the meeting. Maybe it's some secret event, having some secret ceremony. But then that also means if somebody drops out of the meeting, they can't get back in. So I haven't used that yet, except for, I think I did one time. But that's probably not something that you would necessarily use a lot. Enable the waiting room. And notice there's a check mark by that. When you guys all came, you popped into the waiting room, right? Some of you may have thought, what's going on here? Why can't I get in the meeting? Well, I enabled it first when I first logged in until I was ready for the hordes, as I call the people who come at the hordes to come in. That way you can be in your Zoom room getting things set up or just having a little quiet time with your tea until you're ready for people to come in. You can control that. Now, I could leave it on all night, and then that way we'll know who hits the waiting room. And I've asked, I'm going to leave it on just so we can see later what that looks like, so you know what it looks like when people are in the waiting room. I can also send someone out in the waiting room. So, Mark, if you're naughty, we're going to put you in a timeout in the waiting room, okay? No? He's going to be good? Now, often I'll leave it on until I'm ready to open it up to everyone, and then often I'll turn it off. But you could leave it on. Maybe you want to make sure only the people you want in a meeting are there. If they hit that waiting room first, you can leave them in there. You can even send them a message in there, and they might see your message, we don't open for an hour, come back please, or whatever you might tell them. Now, previously, there wasn't a way for them to send you a message back. Zoom just added that, but if you turn that on, because I was going to turn it on tonight, but I got a message that anyone who comes to the meeting has to have the latest Zoom, and it would make them update it right then and there. And I said, no, we don't need that tonight. But eventually update it, and that'll be a fun feature to be able to have. Now, if I go down, these are things I can allow everyone in the Zoom meeting to do, to share screen. Now, do I have that check marked? I don't have that check marked. And this is one of the things that Zoom bombers often do. They drop into a meeting, and often this is check marked, and they start sharing their screen with often pornographic images, loud music. It's not fun. And that's one of the things they do. So you really want to control that. Right now, only someone who's a host or a co-host can share their screen. I had to make Kathy a co-host so she could share her screen. And otherwise, right now, no one else but me, and I'm on the District 11 video, and my other computer, which is named Lori Haynes, are the only ones who can share screens right now. I can turn off the chat. It's on now, but I can turn that off. Now, if you go to try to chat, what happens? Can you chat? Now, I do have several options. If you can see on the right here, I can set it so you can chat, but only to hosts and co-hosts. Sometimes we'll use that in contests, for table topics contests or evaluation contests, right? You don't want somebody giving anything away, whether on purpose or accidentally. Or maybe there's another reason. I can also say everyone, which would let you send messages to everyone and any particular person. But I can also change that. So that one would only do everyone, and this one would be everyone and anyone directly. So you can make it so people can't send private messages if you do the everyone. So right now, you shouldn't be able to send a private message to anyone. You guys want to try that out and see? Did you see we had someone pop up there in the waiting room? I should have pointed it out before. All right, so now you should be all set. You should be able to chat with impunity. Then rename themselves. That's another thing. You are able to rename yourself. Rakia probably went over that the other night. You can either do it from the little 3 dots in the upper right corner of your video. And also, if you click on participants in the menu, in the participants menu, when you're a co-host, you can do it for multiple people. If you're yourself, you can only rename yourself. Then we have unmute themselves. Right now I'm letting you unmute yourselves if you want to say something, but I can turn that off. Start video. I can make it so you can't even turn on your videos, but I want to see all your lovely faces. So this is your main stuff in the middle here that you'll kind of change back and forth depending on what you're doing. If it's a club meeting, you might not mess with that too much. At one of my clubs, Whirlpool Toastmasters, we have about 15 to 20 normally, so we don't mess with that too much. But when we have an open house, our last one, we had 80 guests there, plus 10 of us. So we didn't let people unmute themselves. We wanted to keep the meeting flowing. We made certain club members co-hosts so they could unmute themselves. During table topics, we unmuted people who wanted to participate. We took some extra measures because we had such a large group to, one, protect ourselves, to make us secure, and also to help make sure the meeting flowed nicely for everyone. I can remove a participant, and that person would not be able to get back into the meeting if it's set up like that on the account. Any questions on this section before I get to that last one? Yes, Rakia.
When you remove a participant from this meeting, if you open the Zoom up, say tomorrow, are they allowed to come back in the next day, or is it just for tonight's meeting?
You know, I haven't tested that. I've heard people say they can, but I've also had people say no, and I haven't been able to test that. I haven't had to remove someone yet, so I'm not sure on that.
Okay.
Any other questions before we go on? Now, this last thing, notice it's in red. Do you see it's in red? I'll hover above that very last thing that says suspend participants' activities. That's red. What's that gonna do? Let's see. It's giving me a warning. Do I really? I'm not gonna report you guys to Zoom. You're a nice bunch of people. But it says, are you sure? This is kind of like an emergency. You're flooded with Zoom bombers. What do? It just muted everybody. It turned off everybody's videos. It's not letting you unmute. It's not letting you do anything. So if things go really bad, you can just shut the whole thing down and even shut down the chat. So let's go ahead and undo that so you guys can appear. You should be able to turn on your videos now. And I'll turn the chat back on. Whew, that was kind of dramatic, wasn't it? All of a sudden, everybody went away. Everybody come back? That's what that does. I've not had to use that in real life in there, but you want to know what things are, so in case you do need it.
Took you away too.
It took me away. It even muted me. You know, it just shut everything down. Scott says it could be helpful for contests. There's actually something else they did that would be interesting for contests, but I don't know if I can do it right now. In District 62, we like to have our participants showing for contests, so we don't have everyone shut their videos off because we want our speakers to have a nice audience. So that's what we do on there. Now, if I'm the host, just speaking of contests, I don't know if you know, if Rakia, did you show them you can move people around? So I can say, you know, I like this puppy here. You've got a nice little puppy there, but you know, Scott's our district director. Let's move him to the right here. And then if I go up to view and lock it, I can follow host video order. And now all of you, if you look at your screen, you're going to see Scott in the upper right corner. And I can, you see him there now in the upper, oh, now he looks all serious, upper left corner rather. Now this is something we'll use sometimes at contests. You can put your timer there. So that way your speakers know exactly where the timer is, and it makes it easy for them to find the timer. So that's something we do for contests. We don't usually for other events. And then I can unlock it so that you can move people where you want, and you can click and drag people. You can click and drag people around on your screen yourself, unless the host has locked that order, then you cannot. All right, we covered some video features of that. We survived this drastic suspend participant activities. Are you ready to play around a little bit? All right, I'm going to make some people co-host. Who wants to be a co-host? Put your virtual hand up. Click on reactions and put a raise hand. And we will make you. I see a thumb. A thumb is part of a hand. Here's a hand. See, this is where I have to go. Yes, yes, yes. We've got some co-hosts. That's all who want to be co-hosts? Let's see. Now, if you put it, oh, somebody's putting here's another hand. Now, if you want to know who the co-hosts are, click on participants so that you see the participant list on the right-hand side, the same place where you'd see your chat. If your chat's in the way, just click the chat icon again. And who can tell me who are some co-hosts? Hola, anybody?
Rakia, Dawn,
Yeah.
Mandy,
Yeah.
Jerome, Ellen. Oh, not Jerome. Sorry. I was ahead of myself.
Now, we've got a whole host of them there, don't we? Now remember, only the host can make someone a co-host. So even the co-host can't make each other co-hosts or remove co-hosts. But now we have a number of co-hosts. You guys can put your hands down who are co-hosts. You can do that by going to reactions and clicking lower hand. Co-hosts also have the ability to hover on someone in the participants window and lower their hand. So Jairam has her hand up. So if those of you who are co-hosts go in the participants window and hover on there, you now see more options, and somebody lowered the hand. You have more options now as co-hosts if you go in the participants window and you hover on anyone. You have asked to unmute if they're muted. It will give you an option to mute if they are unmuted, and you can click on more. All right, shall we make some more people co-host? All right, we've got more. See, now you know why I say I wish you could do it a whole bunch in one fell swoop. All right, I'm going to take it away from me. Where am I? Oh, I'm down here. I'm going to remove it from me. Rakia, could you leave the meetings and go to the waiting room so that they can see what that looks like? Somebody locked the meeting. I want to unlock it in case somebody needs to come in here. Somebody turned off, renamed themselves. I've asked Rakia to leave and she'll come back in the waiting room. So we'll see her in the waiting room. You'll see it in the top of the participants list. Now don't let her in until I tell you to. I'll leave from my other computer too. Now, don't let her in yet, but do you see her there? Now, if you open up your chat, you can chat. You have an option at the top of the list, waiting room participants. You can send her a message. So you could say, hi, you can't get in, haha, or whatever you want to tell her. I'm going to come in with my other computer. There. Now she can't, remember, she can't message you back. Some people didn't understand that and they get a little upset, but what can you do? All right, now you see I'm in there too. So sometimes if you're busy chatting or if you've got a lot of participants, if you scroll down on that participant list, that waiting room disappears. And so you might be busy and you might not realize you have people in the waiting room. So make sure to scroll up so that you can see that. Sometimes you'll get a notification on the bottom, particularly if your Zoom screen is minimized, something will pop up. All right, you guys can go ahead and let people in from the waiting room. And notice there was an admit all option as well. Do I have everyone? Oh, we've got some more to make co-host. For those who are just now co-host, do you want us to do that waiting room again so you can see that? One of the important things if you have multiple co-hosts in a meeting is everyone needs to have defined roles. Because if we have multiple co-hosts and there's people in the waiting room and someone's letting them in, but the organizers of the meeting don't want them in yet, then don't let them in. So make sure everyone has their defined role and, oh, I have the power, I can do everything. So you really want to be organized. For District 62, for our TLIs and our contests and stuff, we have a file, we have the minute by minute, we have one with Zoom. This person does this person does that. Now we have some people who have other skills, but we want to make sure and be very organized so it's not chaos. Which maybe is why Zoom doesn't let you make everybody co-hosts all at once. I don't know. So I see Scott said we accidentally let some folks in early. Now, if you do that, and I did this on Saturday with our TLI, someone started letting people in, well, guess what? I can just say, go to the waiting room. Oh, wait, I can't because you're a co-host. Is there somebody not a co-host? Oh, Mark. All right, Mark, you're a guinea pig. I'm going to put him in the waiting room. So bye, Mark. But if you've got a whole bunch of people, it's kind of hard. You'd have to do it one by one to move a whole bunch of people. All right, somebody want to let him in? But you can do that. Because maybe you forgot to turn the waiting room on. You go, oops, go to your security shield. Thanks for coming back, Mark. How was your time in the waiting room? So you can open up the security shield, enable that waiting room. Now you can turn on the waiting room in your account settings so that it's for everything. You can also do it if you don't have it there in your meeting settings when you schedule a meeting. But whether you have it on or off there, you can always turn it on and off at the security shield. Yes. Although we now, if there's more than one, we put them in a breakout room. Because sometimes, even with just one, because sometimes the waiting room, they feel weird there. It's like they're kind of scared. They don't know if they're coming back. Zoom used to have another thing, but before they had the waiting room, it was like putting them on a fluffy cloud. It wasn't really a cloud, but it was a little different than a waiting room. But we use breakout rooms to put them in, but you could put them in the waiting room there. And so, all right, where was I? This is Scott, the waiting room here. And so you have your waiting room, but you can also turn it on and off here at the security shield, unless if you have a meeting that you've created in your Zoom before, because we know Zoom has made so many changes since COVID. For a while there, almost every week there were changes. And at first you didn't have to have a waiting room on, it was optional. And then there were so many Zoom bombers. Zoom changed it so that you either, when you set up your meeting, you either have to have a password on that link, or you have to have a waiting room. And so for some of my older meetings I've scheduled that are reoccurring, I didn't have a password on it because I wanted a nice short little link. And so for those, and these are even my club meetings, I cannot turn off the waiting room in the security shield. So if you see where it's white grayed out, you won't be able to turn it off, but that's okay. Then that way we see people coming in, we see if there's a guest coming in, and we immediately know, okay, we've got a guest coming in. So that can be very, very helpful with that. Now, if you're a co-host, I'm gonna have to take some away because if we have everybody co-host, you are able to mute other people. You're able to rename other people except for co-hosts. So right now, all of you co-hosts could only rename yourselves and Mark because those are the only people not co-hosts. So I'm going to take a few away. Where's Scott? Let's take it away from Scott. And you can rename Scott. Remove co-host permission. I'm having to do it one by hovering on each person. I'll take it away from Rakia. She knows everything. And now if you either go to participants and hover on their name and select the more, you'd be able to rename those people. So you can rename Mark, Rakia, and Scott. Or you can do it on this video by clicking the 3 dots. Either way will work. All right, so somebody renamed Scott Brown. Not the boss. Yeah, that's what your wife tells you, right? Little Red Hen. No one's renaming Mark? Now, why is renaming important? Well, of course, sometimes we come in with our first name, or we come in on our husband's account and it's his name. Or maybe you want to rename them because you are doing officer breakouts. But bacon is the best. Oh, there you go. Maybe you want to rename them if you're, say, having a TLI. We rename them for our officer breakouts. It makes it easy to assign people. For example, we'll put P at the beginning of everyone's name for president, and E for VPE, so it can make it very easy to assign people. I did hear of a club. They had a theme night, some sort of Disney, and so they asked everyone to rename themselves with their favorite Disney character. So it can be for fun as well. Now, why is that a security issue? Because here's what Zoom bombers will do. They'll come into the meeting, they'll share screen if they can or can't, or they'll just yell and scream if they can unmute themselves. And then let's say Pioneer Mark Walton starts yelling and screaming, and you go, all right, let's find that guy. Well, if he can rename himself, he can now be Bob. And you won't find Pioneer Mark Walton. And so they'll quickly rename themselves and you can't ever find them. And you don't know who they are to boot them out of the meeting. And you might have to just shut the whole meeting down, start again, and vet people. So that's another way. Yes, in club meetings, renaming people, or if someone just, if a club member comes in with just their first name, maybe you want first and last. Or if they come in as iPad 2, right? So that we're all people. So there's different things you can do with renaming. On there, at a district event, you might see, district director or DD in front of the boss's name, or whatever their title is. Or at a deck meeting, you could put H40, H81, for division and area. So you can do some different things with renaming. Now, if we turn off renaming by going to the security, it looks like someone has. So those who are not co-hosts, so Mark, Patty, and Scott, and the Little Red Hen cannot rename themselves right now because we have that ability off. Using these features, it's all about thinking about who's coming, how big of a group is it, what do you want to have happen, and then also think of the fun. Is there something you can do with these different features to make your meeting fun as well? For a club meeting, you're not necessarily you probably won't make it so people can't unmute themselves. But if you've got 120 people there, again, look at your security different, both security and meeting flow as well. Now, if you rename someone, can they rename themselves? If they're a co-host, and if the renaming on the security shield is on. Right now it's off. So if Scott or Patty were to try, they can't rename themselves. Or Rakia, or Or let's see, Joe. Now, Joe was a co-host. I think I made him one, but he came out and came back in. When that happened, he lost his co-host privileges, as did Rakia. That's why she's not a co-host anymore. Now, as the host, if I get kicked out, say my computer crashes or Zoom says, bye-bye, Lori, then it's going to make one of the co-hosts host. And since there's so many, I have no idea who it's going to choose. When you're a co-host and you leave the meeting, you have the option of shutting the whole thing down or leaving it running, but assigning someone a co-host. If I go down here to end, down here, this red button at the lower right corner, and click that, I have the option. If I click end meeting for all, boom, it's gone for everyone. If I say leave meeting, then it would ask me to assign someone as a host, and one of you would be whoever I assigned a host. I'd be gone and the meeting can still run. For club meetings, sometimes we stay and chat a little bit afterwards, right? So we don't, but I just trained a new sergeant at arms and she keeps forgetting, and it's all of a sudden, and most of the people there think, oh, I guess Lori doesn't want to talk. No, it's not me. It's not me, because the meetings are on my account, but we have the sergeant at arms run the Zoom part during that. So just make sure that if you really do want to end the meeting or let people stay and talk with that. Now, just a review of our security shield that we went over. To lock the meeting, enable waiting room. So someone turned it off. I'm going to turn it on again. Share screen. Now, right now, all the co-hosts, which is nearly everybody, could share their screen. Anyone who's not a co-host can't. But one thing, actually, I need you guys to test this out for me. When you should be able to stop my screen share near the top. Somewhere in this section, it's going to look a little different than on my screen. You might have to click view options. Do you have an option that says stop participant share? So somebody can go ahead. Oh, somebody did. Now that can be good, because what if you accidentally left this on and somebody's sharing? At our TLI, our Toastmaster of the day, she was done, she was talking, all of a sudden she shared something. And I was looking at that, I'm going, I don't think she means to. And then I read it looks like her notes. So I quickly stopped it. So sometimes it's an accidental share, or it could be a Zoom bomber, or sometimes maybe someone is done with their presentation and they just stop and they haven't stopped their share. So you can help them out by stop their screen sharing. Especially if you have some sound effects coming in. Oh, we have another dog, Rosa. We're going to have a little dog contest tonight. I only have cats. Sorry, she may make an appearance. I'm sitting on her chair, so she may show up. Oh, that's a cute dog. All right, we've got all kinds of dogs here. Any questions on what we've gone over so far? You guys have been so quiet. I'm just not used to this with Toastmasters. All right, yes, Kathy.
I just had a quick question. When I click on the chat, the message chat box comes right in the middle of my screen.
So you've probably unhooked it, because you can pop it out and then you can join it back. So I'm going to show you here. So I'm going to just turn them both off. Now it's easier to show with one. So I'll turn on my chat. It's here on the side, but see this little arrow in the upper left corner? Here, can you see it? So here's the word chat, and to the left, if I click it, I have the option pop out. So you've probably popped it out, because now you see it in my screen.
Yes.
And then if you click the little three dots where you would go to save it, the option merge to meeting window.
Oh.
That could be helpful to pop it out. Maybe you want it bigger because there's so much chat going on and you want to see it. Or maybe you're presenting and you want to make sure and have that chat in a nice spot so you can see the comments coming in as you're presenting. And you can do that with participants too. Maybe your task is to rename people. I can go up to that little caret thing to the left of the word participants, pop that out. And I can search in my participants. So if I'm looking for somebody, if we have tons of people here, and then I can go back and merge to meeting window. So that's a nice option. In your settings, you are able to change the type size of the chat if you need it a little bigger as well. I'm checking my quiz here to make sure I covered everything. Try some of the basics. There's so much to cover here, but I wanted to get some of the basics for you here. One of the reasons to assign people as co-hosts is to let them share their screen. Instead of turning it on so everybody can share, what we do in my club meetings, our Sergeant at Arms will make each speaker co-host right before their speech. That way, if they have a presentation or a sound that they want to share, they can do that. And then we take it away after they're done. I used to try to ask people, but then they didn't know or they wouldn't answer, and it got to be too much of a hassle. So I thought, let's just make it smooth. We'll just do an automatic thing. And then that way, they don't have to say, can I share my screen? I don't know. Just smooth, right? We want to make our meetings as smooth as possible. And so that's something that can go quickly, just automatically do it. We even do that for table topics, masters, because you could do some fun table topics. Sharing your screen. There's some nice sites out there, or maybe you're sharing some pictures for your table topics. So you can do that as well. We make our Toastmaster co-host, whoever's Toastmaster, they may share, but then they can also help let people in the waiting room, mute people. We also make the Toastmaster co-host so they can launch a poll, and you can see the polls option at the bottom here. And we did our first poll earlier, and I put in a couple of other test polls for somebody to launch. If I click polls, you see the first one. But if you click the arrow here, you see a couple others that I put here. Originally, you could only have 25 polls in Zoom, only. Now they changed it to 50. So somebody's launching a poll, what kind of pie is your favorite? Now here's the problem. There's 15 of us here, only 5 people can vote because co-hosts can't vote in a poll. So that's another reason during our meeting, we pull the co-hosts away from the speakers and only have the Toastmaster and the Sergeant at Arms to give more people there to be able to vote. So out of our 5 people, let's see what their favorite pie is. All right, we need one more to vote, 4 out of 4. Oh, there's 5. All right. There we go, and then click End Poll. Now we use the polls in my clubs for best speaker, evaluator, and table topics. We don't share the results after, because if somebody didn't get any votes, we don't want them to feel bad. But our Toastmaster will note the results and we present a certificate. If it's for something else, then you can share the results. So share the results, and then everybody sees what the results are. So out of our 5 people, Apple won. And the polls are created on the account that the meeting is run from. So for my clubs, I have to set up the polls. And if I'm not there, I can pre-set up the speaker and evaluator ones. If they're known right before the meeting, then they have to do table topics, poll another way. Now there's one more poll in there if someone else wants to practice. Why was shepherd's pie not an option? Well, because who wants to eat a pie with wool in it? It's just not good. It's just not good. All right, we got one more poll. Anybody else want to launch a poll? You have to click that arrow to get to the other polls. So click that little caret there, and then you'd be able to get to the poll. Oh, here we go. We'll find out what those 5 people who can vote. Now, sometimes other devices, the polls may not show up on my Chromebook. Usually I can vote, but not today. Not today. For some reason, that's kind of interesting. Zoom has just updated and provided so people can do different types of quizzes in the polls, but everyone that you're presenting to needs to have the latest, or at least that version, which was probably last week, of Zoom. So I was going to practice with you guys, but I wasn't sure whether you'd have that. But keep in mind that's coming as more people get updated, and it can make meetings a lot more fun and engaging. So we've got one for sledding, one for reading a book, and 2 that hate winter. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. Oh, they've already shared. I'm just going to click the red X to make that go away. Any question on polls? They can be a lot of fun. And you have 50. I mean, come on, 50. I dare you, use 50 in a meeting. No, I'm kidding. Yes, Kat.
I do have a question. So you prepare those before the meeting starts, right? You can prepare them at any time, but to launch them, you just go to the icon and click launch. Is that the same area to create the poll?
To create them, it's on your Zoom account, zoom.com, and you log in. Now it's very quick to do them, so you could do it in the middle of a meeting, quickly do it, and I've done that. You can also deactivate them. So say I'm not going to be able to make a meeting next week for my club, I'm going to deactivate the table topics. I don't have to delete it like you either had to delete it or leave it there. Now Zoom has the option where you can deactivate it, so it won't show when you click the poll icon. It won't be available, but they'd still see the best speaker and the best evaluator if we were doing those. Any questions on what we've covered so far?
Lori, do you know what the secret plan is, or how the participants are ordered in the participant window?
It's based on whether you have your video on or not, and if you're muted or not.
Okay.
For example, Rakia and the participants, you're showing first of the non-co-hosts, the very few non-co-hosts, because you're unmuted. But it's also by alphabetical as well, if everybody's the same, which is really strange.
Okay, that's what I thought, but it makes sense now if you say it's alphabetical, it's by host, co-host, and all that. That makes sense.
Right, and if your hand is raised, you do show up near closer to the top, and also the video moves now in the gallery. So Rosa just put her hand up, and now she moved in our. Now, if the host locked it, then I don't know that she would move quite there. If the hand is up. Now, if you use one of the other reactions, such as the thumbs up or the clapping, you don't move. And you don't move in the participants list. So when they say use your virtual hand, always go to reactions and click that raise hand option, so that way they're able to see you. So Rakia just muted herself, and now she's down further in the list than she was. She's now just above Scott. Scott's in the bottom, but when she had unmuted herself, she was up higher in the list. Now, another thing co-hosts can do is turn off someone's video. So even though it's a beautiful background, I'm going to go and turn off Patty's video. I'm going to click on the 3 dots and select stop video. Now she's still there, but now we just see her name. And Patty, can you turn on your video for us?
No,
She can't.
I
So if you
cannot start
turn
my
off-
video.
If you turn off someone's video who's not a co-host and you want them to be able to turn it back on, you need to mark down that you turned it off and turn it back on. So say a naughty somebody got into your meeting and they're showing something they shouldn't oughta, you can turn off their video and they cannot turn it back on. I did this once at a TLI not because it was someone nefarious, but one of our presenters, he had his video on, he'd gotten up and he was doing something. He was about to bend down. Well, you know the joke about when plumbers bend down, what you see? Well, this guy had baggy pants on, and I realized we were going to get that view. I did not want us to get that view, so I turned off his video. So, you know, being watchful, that's what being a host and co-host is. It's really about being watchful, just to see what's going on. You can see if, yeah, especially that kind. It's about seeing what's going on, whether someone needs help or whether you need to take care of something. But co-hosts do have that ability. Since he was a co-host, he was able to turn it back on. I didn't have to go back to him. Sometimes I've turned off videos because somebody's moved their camera down, a woman, and we're seeing a part. Okay, we really don't need to see out there. They need to make sure your camera's up. If you're stepping away, turn your video off. Or if you're adjusting your camera, it can be good to turn your video off until you get it to a more appropriate spot there. Now, it would take a whole other meeting to talk about breakout rooms. If you want me to start and go over a little bit about that, or if you want to learn, if you want to practice any of the things we've gone over tonight or ask questions, because we only have roughly a few minutes. You guys are too quiet.
Under the more, we see that start focus mode. What does it mean, start focus mode?
The focus mode is something new. Now, this might be something you could use for contests if you didn't want to have people showing their video. So I'm going to click Start Focus Mode. And it's when you do that, you'd only be able to see the host, which would be nearly everybody in here, because that includes co-host videos, shared content, and videos of spotlighted participants. So, all right. So you see some people, oh, you just, so see all the videos that are, let's see, it still showed us. I thought it would turn off some of the videos, unless someone changed that. Oh, somebody ended it. Focus mode is, so somebody ended it, but it just changes the view. It makes it so the others who are not hosts or co-hosts can only focus on what's going on. That's the basics of it and why they call it focus mode.
What's the difference between that and Spotlight?
Well, Spotlight, well, first let's talk about pin. So if you hover on someone and if you select pin, and anybody can do this, even our non-co-hosts, if either you hover on a name and select more in the participants, or if you go to the 3 dots on their video, if you pin someone, only you see that person large. Maybe you want to pin the timer. Maybe you're wondering, what's in Kathy's background? I want to see. Oh, she's got flowers and a nice light. But she doesn't know. Well, now she knows because I just said. But normally if you pin someone, no one knows. But Spotlight, and hosts and co-hosts can do this, is putting someone front and center for everybody if they're in speaker mode. And you can spotlight up to 9 people. So if you hover on them and select Spotlight for everyone. So maybe, for example, you're introducing the trio. You can spotlight all 3 people. When you have someone up and you go to spotlight someone else, you have a choice between add spotlight, which adds them to the others, or replace, depending. Or maybe you're doing well, we use this when we do our member induction. We have the VPM, and then we spotlight the VPM, and we spotlight the member or members who were being inducted. And that way everybody's on the screen. And we can see them, we usually interview them, do the little ceremony. We can get a nice screenshot if we want for our Facebook page or our website. And you can, how many people did I say you could spotlight? Oh, look, some more dogs. And then if you go up to view, you can select remove all spotlights, so you can remove everybody that's spotlit at once. But that's a nice feature if you're doing a ceremony, if you're doing a little interview, maybe you're doing the presentation of a certificate for someone who completed a level and you want to interview them. They say, oh, what project did you like? What have you learned so far? There's a lot of great uses for spotlighting. All right, guys, we'll have to say breakout rooms for another time. I have a short quiz for you. You're not opposed to quizzes. Are you opposed to quizzes? And a feedback link as well. I'm going to put that in the chat for you. So we got a link for the quiz. Oh, that's all. Maybe I need to put that again in case that didn't come out well. It's an easy quiz. If you fail it though, no, I'm kidding. All right, that didn't help, did it? It just did the same thing. I hope you guys have learned some things and have fun playing around. There's a lot of options that Zoom has. Don't be afraid, especially in our club meetings. This is another area where we can practice in our club meetings. Try different things out. And then think about how you can apply them or ways that you can use them in other venues as well. Whether it's a contest, an officer training, or whatever you're doing. All right, do we have anyone? We've got one answer for our quiz. All right. We've got a few more respondents. How many co-hosts can be in a Zoom meeting? 50,
I flunked.
believe it or not.
I flunked.
You flunked? Oh no, well that's okay. We're not passing it on anywhere.
I'm not getting the link. It doesn't come up, so.
What do you mean it doesn't?
I clicked,
The second
got-
one will.
yeah, I clicked on the second one and it said, oh, now it comes up.
Yeah, I've got people
Okay.
responding, so I've got 7 people that filled out the quiz. Yeah, it didn't paste good in the chat for some reason. Probably
Yeah.
because I used my Chromebook.
I'm having
Chromebook
difficulty
and Zoom
accessing.
aren't exactly friends. I can try from this one. This will probably come out better if I can get on there. So
I
you
can't
can,
get the feedback form.
all right, let me try again. I'll try it from my other computer here. If it likes it better. All right, we'll try one more time. All right, there, that's better. That way it's not all combobulated or discombobulated. There, are those links working better for you?
I think they're the
Okay.
same thing.
Well, they're the same links, but now they're spread out so you can get them. They work because I've got people taking the quiz and I'll make sure the feedback's working. I'll check and make sure that's coming in.
When I clicked on the feedback form, it came up with the quiz.
Oh, it
Yeah.
did. Look at that. All right, let me get the right thing here. The quiz, that's kind of copy.
As Lori is working on that, we do want to wrap up our meeting since it's 9 o'clock. And I would just like to, on behalf of District 11, present Lori with this certificate of appreciation. Thank you so much, Lori, for your time tonight. Everybody give it up for Lori. You can turn off your mute and give her a round of applause. Thank you so much, Lori. And I think we need another Zoom class. We'll have to come up with a Zoom 301 or whatever the next number is. Thank you again. Did you all feel inspired to go and learn more, do more? Well, I hope you want to learn lots and have even more of an expanse in your learning by coming to our next classes. So just as a reminder, tomorrow night speaker, come and join us. It says on my presentation slide 8 p.m., but the doors open at 7:30. So please come in at 7:30 and join us for the fun, get to know each other, get all situated, maybe go get your coffee or your bathroom break real quick, but come and network first at 7:30. And then Saturday, super Saturday, it's going to be good. So please join us. We love to see you all again. Thank you all for your evening. Thanks for attending. Lori, any last few words here on the feedback link or anything that needs to be said about that?
No, I put the new one in. It should work. My cat did come to say hi. Can I say hi?
It's a pet's evening.
That's right.
And
You know,
Lori,
we
you
have to
stopped the
represent
sharing
the
for me.
pets. I did.
Thank you.
I did. See, that can be handy here.